Hey, it's Conor here in Limoges. We've got the Cathedral of Limoges. It's about 1,000 years old, and the gardens of the bishop here in Limoges by the river. And traveling through Dordogne region of France to celebrate a good friend's 50th birthday. And I've had a question a number of times via email in the comments, and it would go along the lines of, I want to change what I'm doing, whether it's leave the company to a new job, be an entrepreneur, but I'm worried about the risk. And I think my answer to worried about the risk, one is there is risk. If you start a business, it's probably going to fail. I think only 1 in 7 new businesses are still around 5 years later. So starting an entrepreneurial venture is a risk. Leaving a job in a company that you know to go somewhere else, it's a risk. You don't know what it's really going to be like when you get there. But I think in evaluating these risks, one of the things that Warren Buffett talks a lot about is that he's far more worried about his errors of omission and not his errors of commission. And people would laugh about some of the poor investments that Warren has made. He's much more worried about the investments he never made because he never knew they were there. And I think if you look back on your life from the perspective of what you'll have missed when you're 80 years old, when you look back, what are the things you would love to have said that you've done? I was speaking to an acquaintance last night, and she was talking about the risk of leaving a company after many, many years to a similar opportunity elsewhere. And my question was, well, you know, if you're 50 now, if we were to come back in 20 years, when you're 70 years old, when we're celebrating this 20 years from now, what's the story that you'd like to be able to tell to me? And it's a very dangerous perspective to take life decisions always from the worry of what could go wrong, but sometimes to stop and look back at your life from you in old age and thinking, what's the story that you want to be able to tell to your grandkids, to your kids, to the people around you when you're 70 years old? What are the adventures you'd like to have lived? What will your career have meant? What types of experiences will you have accumulated over that time? What type of risks will you have gone through? And I know I didn't intend to be an entrepreneur. I didn't, age 20, decide that it was going to be something. It was more, I found myself at the age of 29, 30, living in Barcelona, not really speaking the language well, not with a big network of people who wanted to hire me into their businesses. And actually, I became an entrepreneur just because I really thought the only way that I get to control my destiny without that network to get me opportunities in this place is by figuring out how to build my own business here. And it's taken me now 16 years of entrepreneuring to be in a place where I've learned the lessons from my first 5 companies. I'm starting to have the network. I'm starting to see how things are going. And I have stories to share. And very often in my speeches, some of the most powerful stories I used to share about leadership don't come from the successes, don't come from the jobs that I took and it all worked out just as I intended. The stories come from when I made poor decisions and often then compounded that poor decisions by trying to gamble my way to success. But I think the key thing here is there are no decisions without risk. If it doesn't have a risk, if there's not a price, if there's not some type of sacrifice that you're making, then there's no decision. If you could just pick up a lottery ticket and guarantee to win, it wouldn't be a lottery ticket, and the pricing in any good market would be very high. So on the question of I'm worried about the risk of moving, well, good. It means you've got your eyes open. But stop for a moment, take your journal, ask yourself, what story do you want to be able to tell when you're 80 years old to the people around you about how you lived this decade of your life? And is your current role, is where you are currently part of a story that you want to be telling to your grandkids? If that's the case, then you're probably in a good way. If that's not the case, you've got many years ahead of you to try out new things. Hi, this is Conor here in Limoges. This is the Cathedral de Saint-Étienne in Limoges. Now I'm about to head and have a crepe with my family. Thank you for your subscribes, your likes, your comments. Hit that bell, subscribe to the channel. Great to have you. I see we just hit 140,000 subscribers, so thank you for being part of that. Have a great one. Speak soon. Always great to see these questions coming in. Have a great one. See you soon.